Now. Been waiting for this. I had the opportunity to see this individual in unconventional circumstances. When we initially met, it was on Special Forces. Have you went through PTSD?
I have. I think I'm still going through it.
As the show kept going, you took on this big sister motherly role, and we could say it now, it was a time where I was extremely hungry. And just like the big sister, she just walks past, don't even look at me, stick her wrist out, and there's a bull egg. I said, damn, she over here got some contraband in here. And she looked back and said, shh.
For many years, my story, the narrative was already written for me. Super talented, star-studded athlete, lots of talent, who just has a hard time making good decisions about everything. I was gonna be this person, this athlete, that I was gonna face these challenges and that this was gonna happen to me. But all along, he knew I was gonna be able to get through it and turn around and be where I'm at right now.
I know the story, but I don't know it accurately.
Yeah.
When you were about to come clean, you were in the process of saying, when I go back to court, I'm going to tell the truth.
I told federal investigators the truth, right? And that started everything. I'm a work in progress, Cam. Meaning that I have forgiven myself forgiven myself for hurting my inner circle, right? My family and my close friends. I am not gonna take on or continue to take on this idea that I hurt the world.
You talked about being in solitary confinement, and what was that like? How you was fighting, and I was like, damn, she was fighting.
You also have to learn how to navigate prison and how people think and talk and relationships. And so I quickly found out that you don't make anybody in that setting look or make them feel embarrassed. Yeah. So I decided to confront her when there was nobody else around, which was a mistake. Yeah. So she wouldn't let me leave. So there was a little confrontation, right? A little fight, a little milling. Thankfully, though.
To be a fly on the wall to witness that. Hey, you. Come here real quick. Come in closer. Closer. Hey. Hit that subscribe button. Back to the show. Yo, what's good? What's poppin'? What it is, what it ain't, what it could be, what it should be, what it would be. Cam Newton the Son, Mr. Boogie the All, here with another episode of Funky Friday. And I promise, I really do promise, to give good content for the masses. But most of all, I promise to keep it funky for your asses. Now. I've been waiting for this. I had the opportunity to see this individual in unconventional circumstances. And I grew up watching her in sheer amazement. My next guest is a TV personality, a mother, an author, former Olympian, and the original athletic it girl of the new millennium. I present to some and introduce to others, Miss Marion Jones.
Hi, Cam.
How are you?
I'm so good, so good.
Oh my goodness, where do I even start, right? Because when we initially met, it was on Special Forces. Have you went through PTSD?
I have. I think I'm still going through it. Well, I'll just say that getting a chance to work with you, be next to you during that experience was one of the highlights of it all. I think, people have their opinions about everybody, right? But watching you compete, seeing you really grow up, right? Because I kind of see myself as a big sister of sorts when it comes to my little brothers and sisters in the sporting world. So seeing you grow up, I went to Carolina, so I spent a lot of years living there and watching you. But and as many great things as you've done on that part, just getting a chance to be next to you and see like a genuinely good human being.
Yeah.
Right. And your hugs just made it all so worth it.
For everybody who didn't know, like the behind the scenes footage, not really footage, but the behind the scenes experience of who Marion really is. I remember, like, first off, we met, when everybody started to understand who's a part of the show, it was on the boat. And I'm like looking around, I'm not a morning person, so I'm like looking around, oh, I know her, oh, I know him, oh, that's the movie. And then you walk, I'm like, yo, we lit in here, you know what I'm saying? Like, hey. But I didn't show it because I was still in, it was like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And then as the show kept going, you took on this big sister motherly role. And we could say it now, it was a time where I was extremely hungry. I was like, damn, I'm hungry. I made it abundantly clear, like, yo, I'm hungry. And just like the big sister, she just walks past, don't even look at me, stick her wrist out, and there's a boiled egg. I said, damn, she over here got some contraband in. And she looked back and said, shh. And we had that moment. And I was early too, so I was like, oh shit, this is my type of person.
Yeah.
Because for you, you were uptight, and everybody was. It wasn't that, I was any different than you or you were any different than anybody else. Everybody was just kind of trying to fill each other out. And I felt like that notion right there was like, I got you. And we got each other.
And it's always subtle, but same thing. When we first got on the boat, you know all the faces.
Yeah.
And everybody's trying to really feel each other out. And I like to joke, I was deciding in that initial moment whom I didn't want to have to sleep next to.
Like you had a choice. Yeah.
And the person whom I didn't want to sleep next to, I wound up initially sleeping next to. He left very early. But seeing you in that, you just are not really fazed.
Yeah.
And we're similar in that, so that they can poke and prod and curse and say whatever to you, and that's what pisses people off. Not even just on the show,
for sure,
but in life too,
yeah,
right?
Yeah,
like
for sure.
that, what you say, how you say it. Like I've heard a lot worse.
Yeah. So that was the thing for me where.
I had forgot all about the boiled egg. By the way, I had taken a few that morning when they were giving us that slop, and I had taken it just because I know that my blood sugar will spike or whatnot, and I had put 3 or 4 in that rucksack.
You tucked it mean too, because I wasn't even thinking. I was just, in that phase of what your body is going through, you can enter a phase of survival.
Yeah.
And my biggest question doing Special Forces was, how real is it? And how real will it be? And initially, the first instance was the pushing into the ocean.
The water.
In the water.
The temperature of the water. I think that was also my anxiousness in all of it. Well, the unknown. But how my body, I don't handle cold very well at all. So you put that with the idea of water.
Right.
You put that with the idea of some type of stress.
Yeah.
Lack of food. You don't know what to expect.
Right. So survival definitely, and as the days kept going on and on, I'm thinking to myself, it's like, what in the world have I got myself into? And what people don't know, I went into it knowing that I was going to give up at day 6. Day 6 was my breaking point. Yeah, for sure. Like after day 6, I was looking at my clock, and that was the thing for me. They gave us all watches, and that kept me
that you lost, by the way,
stimulated,
after day 1.
which is cool.
Okay.
It was somewhere in the ocean, or it was somewhere in the pool, or whatever.
It wasn't in the ocean because you hadn't gotten the watch by then.
Yeah.
But why day 6?
When it was.
Why day 6?
Because I had an event to go to. So what kept me was the relationships with you, Kyla, and Kayla. And just, seeing Golden and just having these real relationships. And as you started to learn more about Carrie and you started to learn more about, Brody, and it's like, yo, I can't quit.
Yeah.
I can't give the DS the satisfaction to say, give me your armband. And that's the competitiveness in me, where a lot of times I was just in this mode of rebelliousness. Like, that was the gift and the curse of me my whole life. And there was times where I was looking at a person in front of me, which was the drill sergeant, and I felt like they was trying to punk me. So when you were saying, like, I've seen worse, I've heard worse, and that competitive tone, it didn't make me shrink, it made me grow.
Bigger,
You feel me? So all athletes can relate to that, because we've all had coaches, we've all had parents, we've all had, individuals to know our trigger tone to get us going.
And I think that was our advantage on the show, the athletes. Not only physically, we can pretty much withstand, minus some broken ribs. We can withstand whatever they put us through. But the idea that we've been yelled at before, right? Like, nobody's yelled at Denise.
We ain't gonna cry.
Nobody's yelling at Trista, any of that. But we've been yelled at, we've been scolded, we've been cursed at, all those type of things. Like,
all tactics to get you to respond.
Yeah, and I think you had talked about in my role, just generally who I am. Anyway, Cam is just very nurturing, and I could sense what they are trying to get out of you from the get-go.
Yeah.
Right?
Can we talk about that?
Yes. I'll tell you from the beginning, when they put those bags over our head, right? And we're down on the ground, which is a bit triggering.
Yeah.
I think generally for people of color, right? To be on the ground with our head covered, that's a whole other show.
Right.
But
and water.
And yes. But hearing, having the sense of sight taken away, and just hearing how they're talking to people and knowing, without you even saying I'm Cam Newton, knowing that they were talking to you, because you were right before me, by the way, right? And not knowing what's going on. But from that moment, I thought to myself, what? Even how they talk to you initially, compared to how they talk to everybody else, you can tell there was already some type of agenda. Like, they wanted to get something a little bit more out of you. I'm a poke. I'm a prod him because at some point he's gonna get him to quit.
What's his breaking point?
Right.
And I thought I was tripping early on, and we'll talk about things coming down to the edit. But for me, when I was watching the premiere, and I was watching it amongst friends and family, and I was saying to them, it's like, my biggest fear is I don't know how they're going to edit it. Because you could be made out to be a villain, or you could be made out to be this superstar. And for me, I was just being myself. So as things are happening, I said, from day one, I felt like they had this motive to try to make me quit. And even when it came down to the helicopter, so I'm seeing different lengths of jumps of the helicopter. So I'm like, okay, cool, this not bad. And from the competitor side, I'm saying, even reading a contract before even going to London, I was like, who's all gonna be there? Is it athletes only or whatever? She was like, yo, you can do your own research. There's a mix of athletes, entertainers, and movie stars or whatever. So I'm like, movie stars? All right, cool. Well, I don't have to get in tip-top shape, knowing that if they can do it, I know I can do it. But that first one, when we went to the helicopter, that's when I knew. Even coming off the boat, me and Golden was asked to do like burpees. And I'm like, okay, how long is enough? Then it was like, all right, do push-ups. 16, do more. I'm like, okay, y'all fucking with me. Then the helicopter, when I was seeing certain lengths of the helicopter, I seen people jump, and I'm saying, all right, cool. So now I go, and I'm looking, and there's a moment in the edit that people saw where I had hesitation. Because my hesitation was like, yo, y'all gonna come a little closer? Because I seen 8 people go before me, and I know that they didn't jump this far.
Right.
So I'm like, hey, bring that motherfucker in closer. She's like, no, go, 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 go. And I'm looking at the dude. I'm like, man, hey, bring it in closer. She's like, no, go, go. And I seen a dude in the DS in the helicopter like, come on, go. And that's where the rebelliousness of me was like, fuck it. Mm-hmm. And I just went.
But Cam, to me, it wasn't even so much about getting you to quit. That's not how I interpreted it. I interpreted it from the beginning. I'm going to push and prod and say stuff to him to get him to be aggressive, to get him to be explosive for a lot of reasons. One is good TV, right? But 2, right? Like that's what people want to see. That's what they expect.
Right.
And the surprise to them, not to me, but the surprise to them was that it didn't faze you. I mean, it didn't faze you outwardly.
Right.
It might have done some pushing, some maybe a little triggering, but from the outside. And so when I saw, even from the beginning, after we swam, and they were yelling at me, by the way, so I told you that you were pushed in before me.
Right.
I was right after you. And we're swimming, and one of the DS is in the boat, Q or somebody, and he's yelling at you, like, you better move your fat ass.
Get your
And
fat ass
I'm
going.
thinking, I saw everybody on the boat. Ain't nobody like
fat. Yeah.
And so I look, and then I see you.
Yeah.
And I see you struggling with all them damn clothes on your body, with your shoes, with your. By that point, I think the hat had.
They slapped the hat off.
And then they yell at me. They said, he said, you're the damn Olympian. You better catch his ass. That's what they said. And I'm thinking, okay, Marion, you could do the most right now and go and catch up to him and die out here, or I could just swim, pace, and I pace. But then even when we got up there, Cam, there was extra for you. It was always extra for you.
Bruh. So I'm like, first off, my spidey senses was going. Because when we first got on the boat, I'm looking at everybody's attire. And maybe
Did you not get the memo?
I didn't know. Only thing I heard was don't wear no jewelry or nothing valuable. And I'm like, well, for me, I dress up every day. So I got a outfit, got clothes for every single day. I know how I'm gonna put it together or whatever. And I see how I'm dressed and I see how everybody else dressed. I'm like, that's kind of normal for me. Like, people will go to the grocery store and I'm still dressed how I'm dressed.
I just interpret it as a bit like rebellious, rebelliousness a little bit. Like, you can do your thing. I got the memo, like, it should be comfortable, right? Something that you don't mind losing or getting messed up.
Never had that memo. That was probably very dark or small.
For you.
Man, because even I was working against myself because I had a jacket, a bubble coat, and it was counterproductive. So I'm trying to swim, and it's a flotation device.
What type of shoes? We had some fancy shoes on.
It was just something comfortable. But my pants, this is the kicker. Because when they told us all to like, all right, undress and put your outfit on, all my stuff had zippers on it. So I had to unzip my pants because they was tight to my ankle. Then I had this on. I said, hold on. I'm taking a little too long. My shoes super tight. I'm like, hold on, panicking. And I'm seeing everybody else get dressed. And I'm over here like the last one. I'm like, man, they already don't like me. I'm like, So it's a lot of panic going on right now. And then, when you panic.
And you're cold.
Cold.
And wet. And walking up those, when you got out of the water, and we're already numb, and we're slipping.
The seaweed,
rocks.
It was bad. It was bad. Get your dollars up with Dollar Up on DraftKings Casino. Hit the reels for a modern take on old school style slots. New players can play $5 to get a spin on the mystery wheel for a shot at up to $2,000 in casino credits. Download the app and sign up with code FUNKY. Then play Dollar Up exclusively on DraftKings Casino. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. 21 plus, physically present in Connecticut, Michigan, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, West Virginia only. Void in Ontario. Eligibility restrictions apply. One per new customer. Play $5 and spin wheel to receive between $10 and $2,000 in non-withdrawal casino credits for select games that expire in 168 hours.
Terms at casino.draftkings.com/promos. Ends February 16th, 2025 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time.
But as the show kind of unfolded, like I said, my biggest fear was how are they going to edit it?
Yeah.
And as I was watching the show, and everybody have been asking, how was your experience? Mm-hmm. And the truth of the matter is that show took 10 days, but with that show, there's lifelong bonds that came from it. And you know Marion Jones, but you don't really know Marion Jones until you really see the show from the editorials,
From the stuff that they didn't put in.
Correct. And not only what you see in off time or when you in the dining hall or whatever you want to call that, and then to see your story kind of unfold, you see like, oh my God, what the world may have knew you to be, I didn't go into it like that because I don't care what somebody's reputation may be. I go in it with a obliviousness to like, who are you? You gave me this sense of calm, and there was a very impactful moment during the show when you got called in, didn't know what y'all talked about, and I just asked, I'm like, are you okay? And there was a moment where we had this hug.
It was everything.
Yeah.
People have asked, and I've shared it before. It was everything. Because as you can imagine, Cam, I've been asked, well, you could have, predicted maybe a little bit what some of the conversation in that mirror room was and they ask questions to trigger, and they want the tears. I get all that. But then to have to leave there and step back in a space that is cold, strangers, when normally if there's an interview setting or something, I can go back into a space that's comfortable that I can. And then to walk into that whatever warming room they called it, which is a joke, we can get into that, and have you be the person in there, miraculously in there, and it's again one of the reasons that I respect, because you know that like your hug was everything. We all were going through a time of uncertainty, and everybody was walking on eggs. Because you didn't know when the next call was going to be. You didn't know what they were going to have us do. All we knew was that we got to keep our mics on, and everything is being recorded. From the shitters to Is that what you're calling
the
it?
shitters, the wooden shitters. And that was a joke, but it was like a cutout hole where you just had to plop down. And the respect for the woman, I think it was Carrie or Brody that was like, yo, we're going to designate 2 for the women and 2 for the guys. And I was like, well, we out here anyway.
And then the toilet paper was missing sometimes. It was just bad.
It's just
nasty.
there.
Just nasty.
Like for the people who didn't, witness or understand what we're talking about, that was a story in its own right, because they really tear down all privacy,
dignity.
You're just there, and heaven forbid any type of creep activity. And we had a good group where it was a lot of respect. It was understanding like, yo, we're gonna have to change in front of each other, and you just have to make sure that you don't want to make somebody else uncomfortable. Yeah. And the most vulnerable moment was like you're using the restroom, and like you looking to your side, it's like, hey, how are you? Hey, what's going on?
And you saying you looking to your side. Besides Nathan, you ain't looking to your side. Besides Nathan, you are there. Yeah, you looking
there.
down.
So you try to keep this straight on look, not trying to make it creepy because somebody else is using the restroom.
And then day one, I hear you and Golden chit-chattering and talking about sounds that are coming from certain stalls.
Yeah. It was that. What was some of the food that we ate? We had eggs. The eggs and the toast was
nasty
every day. No type of flavor.
Well, also, I'm plant-based. You're plant-based. Yes. So do you remember the tofu that they?
Yeah.
Which I didn't even try.
It was at that point,
I just was eating just to survive.
Yeah.
I was eating just to make sure, like, man, I don't know what we're gonna have to do, but I just want to make sure I'm giving my body the nutrients, because one of the early days they was giving us snacks in
Day one in the Jeep.
In the Jeeps.
Until somebody commented, "Oh, this is nice," and ruined it for everybody.
Yeah.
But
stashing.
again, that is to the athlete's advantage, because we know that we have to fuel our bodies. Kyla, who is gluten-free, plant-based, food, she didn't eat anything.
A lot of allergies.
Couldn't eat anything.
Right.
But there are certain things that you understand, Cam, why they did it. If we get down to like the base of it all, right? They're trying to mimic what it's like when you're training. But the idea that they're going to carry that along with 16 people who have zero background in military. We don't know what to expect. Some of us are physically incapable of doing some of the stuff. Is a bit mind-blowing.
And mentally incapable.
Oh, yeah.
Because when you see certain people, you know it was like...
Good for TV.
Yes.
The reason that they're there was because it was good for TV.
Yeah. A lot of times, certain things... First and foremost, heights for me. It's not that I'm afraid. It's that in recreational activity, I would never bungee jump. Because outside of fear, there's a weight and height requirement that I never, it's always, it's like, yo, this is for the 6'2" and under. Like, well, that ain't for me. This is for 215 or under. I'm like, oh, that ain't me. I can't do that. So when I started looking at them heights, I said, oh, whoa. So, is this safe for me? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm 260.
And the biggest, tallest and biggest of, if you had did you get a chance to see the other 2 seasons prior to going on?
I went in there
you would have then also said, no, I am the biggest and the tallest out of all of the competitors.
Yeah.
And that probably would have been the decision not to get on the show.
Man. So I was like, oh, I don't know about this. But I think the thing that I want to ask is, what did you learn about yourself during this filming process?
Well, that was the reason that I made the decision to even go on. I am certainly in a season of growth in my life. 10 plus years ago, I made the conscious choice to just step away from it all. I needed to, for my own sanity. I have kids. I needed to be very present. And you do that many times by getting away from the spotlight. But over the past year and a half, 2 years, my kids are older. They know my story. And I'm comfortable now in knowing that people need to see a living example of, you can come back from stuff.
Yeah.
You can come, not just come back, but you can come back and shine and flourish. And the only way to do that is to put myself back out there. But because of those 10 plus years, Cam, I'm so confident in who I am and what I believe. And I know that there are critics. You know it. And at this point, I'm like, just bring it. I am who I am. This is how I think. This is how I live. And people needed to see that, right? Also, you get to a point in your life where everybody needs to do something a bit uncomfortable. You start to become, well, you're not there yet, but once you start to hit 45 and 50, you look for a life of comfort. And I think that's actually what expedites death, really. You're so comfortable, you're not challenged anymore, you don't think outside the box. And I needed to do something that was going to be a challenge and that my kids can look at and say, you know what? Wow.
Yeah.
I see you, Mama.
Yeah. You said something here where you took a step away. Like, what did that journey look like for you? And we're going to get into many different topics, during this time. But how? Like, what was the process to say, hold on, let me take a step back? What did that look like for you?
Well, in regards to the physical, it meant I'm staying away from TV when it comes to anything to do with me or the sports that I participated in or the commentary around it, because I know that my name is going to be associated with all of it.
Right.
And again, I could not control, Cam, that narrative of me. So I chose to not listen to it. I chose to not read, certain things during the Olympics. There were a number of Olympics that I chose not to be a part of, not watch, none of that, because I know that that was going to bring me back to a place of hurt and pain and embarrassment, to be honest with you. So that's what it looked like for me. But more so, I'd say, who is Marion Jones away from sport?
Yeah.
And as you know, if it's all you've done your entire life, you start to equate, I am football or I am running.
Yeah.
And that's not accurate. But if you don't explore other areas of your life, like what other passions do you have? You'll never know that.
Yeah.
And in that time away, I learned, one, that I love to be a mother. I love being a mama. I love taking on the responsibility of creating and I have 3 kids who are almost grown now, but 3 humans that are good, that are honest, that are are gonna, I know, be this positive contributors to this life. That to me is the
What's
ultimate.
the age?
I have a 21-year-old.
Okay.
I have a 17-year-old freshman in college, and then my daughter's 15. She's a sophomore in high school. And I needed to be fully present for them because of the shoes that at some point they were going to probably have to fill, especially if they were athletic.
For sure.
Right? And so I needed them to get a solid base of what it's like to be in a household where this is how we do things, this is how you're supposed to do it, X, Y, and Z. And I needed that time away from it all.
I think when I was watching the show, the thing that I enjoyed most is seeing a different version of the person that I saw. And Marion Jones, the Olympian, you kind of hear what happened, but you don't know what happened.
Yeah.
How was that process of really reopening that, I want to say, the scab to just let the world know, yo, this is who I am, and what was the mental going into that?
It's so freeing, liberating. For many years, my story, the narrative was already written for me.
Okay, which was what?
All right. Super talented, star-studded athlete, lots of talent, who just has a hard time making good decisions about everything, about relationships, about coaching, about business, about money. And this is what happens, right? You lose it all, right? You make poor decisions. And although, my consequence was extreme compared to anybody else's, people just that's part of the black athlete. Yeah. He just kind of fits into that narrative. And what this time in my life, the past few years, has looked like, Cam, is Marion now creating her own narrative, right? Not allowing, whether it's in interviews or even on the show, even if they came into it, if we go back momentarily to the Special Forces, if they came into it with an idea of how they were going to portray me, I wouldn't allow them to do that, because if they don't show me at all, that's one thing. And there were a few people they didn't show at all. But if they did show me, this is who I am.
Right.
Right? I'm caring, I'm nurturing, I'm focused, I'm competitive. Right? There's nothing else behind the scenes that they're going to get if they had another agenda. Like maybe she's, she feels like she's been wronged. That's not, I don't walk around like that.
Right.
I am who I am. And I think, as opposed to some of you all, because I think you are in this boat with whom they portrayed negatively on the show. I think I was spared a little bit in the show in terms of, I think that even in the mirror room, I was able to say what I needed to say. I knew they had an agenda, but again, I had an agenda.
For sure.
Right? And I'm going to make sure that I express this about who I am, what my kids mean to me, what this journey has been, and they can edit it however they want. But ultimately, I'm going to get across what I need to.
I think for the viewer, it's important to understand who this individual is and was. You were the new millennium version of FloJo, right? Without Sha'Carri Richardson, or without you, the Sha'Carri Richardsons, the Angel Reeses, these strong black women, with Sydney McCullough, like all these women, powerful black women being able to be themselves. There was Marion Jones, where we're not used to, as a culture, as a race, seeing a version of black women that the world will okay. We've seen it in Serena. We've seen it in Venus. We've seen it in, like I said, Sha'Carri and the angels of the world. And you were that for us. And I want to always tip my hat to greatness and acknowledge that first. Contrary to whatever the fuck they try to do, you impacted a multitude of individuals, black women and black people and people as a whole. So dare I not mention that, because everybody has to do their job to pass the torch. And, with that, going into an opportunity like Special Forces, having your own agenda. And an agenda is it can be negative, but it's the right. You're not going to let nobody tell the narrative. And the way you presented yourself was heartfelt and real. And as a person who didn't know much, finding out a lot after the situation, there's questions that I'm like, through it all, you still was smiling. Like, this is the person who I'm, day to day, every day, around each other 24/7. And she's still, hey, you all right? I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And then we shared moments like, hey, you good, come on, let's go. Like those runs to different, like we needed each other. It was like iron sharpens iron. So dare I allow any narrative to be what I know it to be. And I'm just so grateful that you are who I expected you to be. You know what I'm saying? Because that would have been lame as hell. I was like, man, that motherfucker Marion.
Well, let me touch on really quick the idea that in it all, through it all, what you shared about being that face of women's sport for that generation, for that time. I've been most encouraged by, I'll tell you, by our people through it all, no matter where I go. People will come up to me and they will share. Well, first of all, we'll hug.
Yeah.
No matter where I go, I'm like the little sister or the big sister. Because they've seen me grow up in front of the camera. They've lived it all with me. And so it's personal for them. It was personal when it happened. And I find that there is a definite difference in the reaction from like our people with everything I've been through versus everybody else, right? In that,
explain.
I find that people of color took it personal in a way whereby they didn't feel slighted by me. They felt slighted that I was taken advantage of, that I was used as an example in a negative way. And they prayed and loved me through it all.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that everybody who is not a person of color.
For sure.
Right?
For sure.
But I definitely have sensed a difference in, like, you're my people. You were my people then. Yeah. When you were in it, you were still my people. And you know what? Even more so now.
Yeah, we got you.
I got you. Yeah. I got you. And that has been very encouraging. Yeah. Because there are moments that are still hard, right? Yeah. Like, I don't allow myself too often to go back to that time. Consequences are hard. I mean, I was in prison for 6 months, Cam. I was 49 days in solitary confinement, right? And the idea that for making just one poor choice at the young age of 20 plus years old, right? And people who are so judgmental in all of it, I ask them a lot of times, like, you tell me what you were doing at 20, right?
And do you think the same?
Right? And not only that, but did you have millions of dollars? Were you the face of sport, the American golden child, like all this pressure, right? And then they'll still try and come back. And I'm like, no, take that for a moment and see. And 49 days solitary confinement. But you know what? I also turn around and say, I'm grateful for it all. People are like, what, man? How are you grateful for it all? Because it forced me, one, to prioritize my life. Yeah. Right? That it really is not about the money or the fame. And you could easily get caught into that world. And that's the most important thing. At the end of the day, it's about, like, are you helping people to be better? Yeah. To be smarter, to be able to handle the economy, to be able to put food on their table. And really, if we're being honest, running from here to there very fast is not really doing that. Even throwing a football from here and being, it's not really doing that, right? What in your life are you inspiring people to do bigger and better, right? Like what you're doing now, Cam. Like I have so much respect, even more so now, with who you've become as a man. More so than what you did on the football field, right? And that is saying a lot. Right. And I would hope that is when people see my story, that's what they get out of all this.
Yeah. Well, what do you say to the people who, no matter the age, you still have to make the notion of, okay, I know what I'm doing, right? And it's like, how did you get to that point? Right, where did you ever think you were doing anything bad? Because that's like, for me, like as I'm prepping for this, I'm like, yo, like that's not who I know. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, if you put 3 faces up there and you know these people and you now put up what they were known for, not in a million years would I say, or attach these things to you, right? So from the viewer who may say, well, you still did it, right? The asshole who may ask that question, even the curiosity for me, and we could take this as an educational moment, but how and what did that look like for you to say, this how it was presented? Yeah. And whatever.
You know, well, first of all, we'll start with the idea that you'll never change an asshole's mind, right? Like they are who they are. And you could spend a lot of time trying to, it's a waste of time, right? So at almost the age of 50 now, I don't waste time on the X's and O's, but I do know that during that time, like I always, from the age of 9, I grew up in California, Cam. And that's where I saw my first Olympics at the age of 9. 84, the Olympics came to LA. And I knew that it's what I wanted. I wanted to be great in sport. And I happened to realize, running around with my older brother, that I was talented. Yeah. And I figured out pretty quickly that I was more than just that, right? Like I was just, gifted. Could run faster than anybody else. Like I'm stronger, and even more so, like I had a mindset about me that was unlike any other little kid, right? I was willing to sacrifice. I worked hard. You put genetics with that. success is going to happen.
Correct.
But then you get older and you start becoming more successful and more successful. And I found that I was surrounding myself with people who were, as we know, yes people, right? People that'll say yes to whatever you say.
Anything.
Pat you on the back. You so great, Cam. You so great. Even when you're making the worst decision, it's still a good decision.
Yeah, I see what you do.
Right? And I found myself being pulled or going, I like to call it into the wave in the ocean, right? Where you have cut off all ties to reality, which is the shore, right? The reality is my mama, my family who know me, right? And who will say, you know what, Marion? That's not a good choice, right? But because I cut those ties, I like being around the yes people, right? Tell me anything. I had no real, of reality.
Yeah.
And so made the choice to surround myself with a group of people and relied on them for certain things, right? Is this good? Yes. Is this good? Yes, right? And ultimately, what I was being given, what I was being told was not the truth. But because I can make a lot of money for everybody around me, that's what I was told. I made the poor choice, is when I was confronted with it by the man, federal investigators, in the blink of an eye, Cam, when they pushed something across the table, and it was something that I had recognized that I had been given prior to the Olympics. I thought about that little girl at the age of 9, right, who wanted to become famous. That little girl at the age of 13 who thought, you know what? My mom, who's from this small country in Central America, came up here at the age of 18 to have a better life for herself and her 2 kids. I'm not going to let my mama down, right? And so because of that, when I recognized what I was being shown, I said to myself, oh, crap, oh, shit. Yeah. If I tell them the truth that it is this performance-enhancing drug, that everything I had hoped for and dreamed for would be taken away from me. So in the span, Cam, of 30 seconds, I told them, I don't know what that is. I've never seen it. I've never been given it. I've never taken it, right? And pushed it back across the table. In the span of 30 seconds at the age of 23 years old. And that created everything right from there. People don't know this. People think that I spent 6 months in prison and 49 days in solitary because I took performance-enhancing drugs, which is not the case. Prior to meeting with federal investigators, I signed what's called a Queen for a Day letter. A lot of people don't know this. Queen for a Day letter, in essence, they still have it, where they will talk to people about what they might know about a situation, whether you've murdered somebody, stolen something. But if you sign this letter, you will answer their questions truthfully no matter what, and then you won't be prosecuted.
Is that anonymity? Is that what they call it?
I don't think it's the same thing. Right. But I signed that letter prior because I had nothing to hide.
Right.
Nothing to hide. So I signed the letter, and then in the midst of it all, I lied. And so that's how they were able to turn it around, and I was found guilty of 2 counts of lying to federal investigators.
So, hold on, take me, because I'm kind of confused. The federal investigation happened, and then you had the Queen's question?
No. Prior to being invited by them to share my knowledge, if I had any, of performance-enhancing drugs, when I says, yeah, I'll come and I'll talk because I don't have anything to hide.
But before this, you had already been...
It had been in the news, a lot of athletes.
Okay.
Right? And this particular performance-enhancing drug, right? Back then it's called the Clear, right? Well, even before then, let's back up a little bit so I can give a little bit of perspective. A lot of athletes during that time, they were getting their supplements from the GNCs of the world, right? Or any other supplement company.
Any over-the-counter situation.
Anywhere. Yeah. And when you're an elite athlete, you have no control, if you do that, over what might be tainted. If something in a lab is tainted and potentially you could test positive, right? And so what a lot of elite athletes were doing, they were hiring outside companies. Nutritionists, companies that do this, as well as me, right? So my team and we hired a company. that were going to make my supplements, and I can be ensured, in essence, that I was clean, that I was safe, because I believe in a drug-free sport.
To bring that into perspective, and I'm not to cut you off, just for the viewer, it is what you call a sports performance coach. They have it. Every team has that person, and that sports performance coach could, number one, it'd be a pliability coach. They'll also be mixed with nutritionists, supplements. They have this whole anatomy of the human body of what should you do pre-workout, post-workout, the foods that you're supposed to eat, the vitamins that you're supposed to eat. So that, and understanding where the time that I played sports, when you played sports, the expectations was different from athletes, right? So.
Right, and I was the fastest woman in the world. I was the most elite athlete in the world at that time, and could not take a chance that all of that would be lost. So we hired this company, and they were making supplements, and they were the ones, this particular company, were the ones that started to create this particular performance-enhancing drugs, right? And well, in my case, because I can't speak for any of the other athletes, but based off of what I've heard, they were, in essence, selling it to them just like they were selling it to me, that it was something else, right? Now, whether my coach or my team knew about it or not, I don't know, but was told to me that it was something. I took it plenty, right? Prior to the games, during the games, after the games. And throughout all that time, I was also the most tested athlete in the world, right? So what this particular company was doing was creating a way for it to be disguised during the test. So that's why they called it the clear. And so didn't test positive at all. Right? So that when I was asked by federal investigators to come in and sit down with them, heck yeah, I can come in and I can talk to them. I have nothing to hide.
Right.
And so that's why when my attorney says, hey, this is what this letter is, you sign this, nothing, cool, let me sign it. Right? And then we get in the room, and 2 hours of questioning turned into like almost an interrogation. Like they knew, right, that I was telling a lie. Right? And they finally pulled something out of their bag, Cam, threw it across the table, says, we know you know what this is. And as soon as they did, I thought to myself, I know what this is, right?
But with this, was this a pill? Was this a syringe?
No, it was a clear liquid in a little vial, right? Which something that I had taken like orally for months, right? And was told it was a type of flaxseed oil. It looks like some type of fish oil.
Okay.
Right? And so they threw it across the table and realized, yeah, I've taken that. Yeah. But realized that was what had been in the news. That was the clear.
That was the thing that people were identifying as
that all these big athletes were getting in trouble with. And I thought, not good.
Yeah.
Not good.
Did you have this sense of, oh shit, I fucked up instantly? Or did it take time for the sanctions to kind of come down?
Well, I had the sense that, I'm going to lie my way out of this.
Okay.
Right? I'm going to lie. I'm going to tell them I don't know what it is. I've never taken it. And, hey, I haven't tested positive anyway, so I'm going to still carry this out.
Yeah.
But then the miracle of childbirth happens. And I realize that everything that you say and don't say can and will affect your kids one day. And I'm telling my sons at that point, my two oldest are boys, and I'm telling them, all right, once you make a poor choice, you got to come clean.
Integrity.
Right? Yeah. And then I would tell them this, Cam, and I'd turn around, look in the mirror, and I'd say, wow, you are quite the hypocrite. Right? And at some point, right, this is all going to come and bite you in the ass. So what can you do about it? All right? You could take that chance and come clean, and you probably will lose a lot, but they're worth it, right? And so, however many years later, this was, I don't know, 5-6 year gap in between when I had that meeting with federal investigators until when I was found guilty in a court of law of lying to federal investigators. About 4 or 5 years, and I was competing, and I was, by that point I had distanced myself from the coaches and from that company and all, but I was still living this with this burden and this heaviness, and knowing that these young people whom I'm like doing my best to raise to be good human beings are going to be affected by this lie.
So take me through the process of you coming clean. Mm-hmm. Did somebody have this sit down with you, or you said, "Hey, I have to tell"?
No, it was had overtaken my world in that I'm still competing.
Okay.
And I'm still the fastest woman in the world, but every time I am in a press conference or in an interview and they ask questions about this, that, like this lie is compounding and multiplying and quadrupling, and it's just heavy and heavy and heavy. And then I'm looking at my kids and I'm saying, you got to do right. You got to do better. You got to come clean. You got to tell me when you make a poor choice. The consequences are going to be immediately, but you deal with it.
Right.
And then I'm going into the press conference and I'm lying, right? And enough was enough. Enough was enough. It just, I was ready to be that mother that my mother was to me. And I wasn't. So I whatever calls, attorney, and.
What was the first step to getting that burden off? What did that look like?
The first step was hard to share with family and my mother that I had, made poor choice.
And to the world, nobody knows nothing.
Yeah, nobody knows nothing. And so I remember I had shared with my mom, but there were some friends that I needed to tell. So I remember Cam writing this email. It was right when email had first started. As I'm telling on myself, AOL. Right? AOL mail, ding. And it was late one night. The next day I was flying to New York because that's where I was being prosecuted. The next day I was supposed to get on a plane, and I knew that this was going to be front page news, and I needed to get this out, but I didn't have time to pick up the phone. I didn't want to either, and call every close friend. So I sent out like a blanket email. It was maybe 50 people close to me. And I remember writing it and holding it for a second and checking it, and then finally hitting send and sitting there for a moment. And within seconds, or however long AOL took to get back, a few things popping in my inbox. We love you. We're here. No matter what, right? And I remember it was about 50 people. And I remember going back after everything happened and counting how many replies I got back from that 50 and realizing, okay, now I see who my real people are. Because at that point, when it all came out, there was nothing monetarily that I could do for anybody.
For sure.
Right? So all these friends, all these yes people whom I thought were friends, they were like, there's no need to have her around anymore. Yeah. So that helped clear things up.
To identify who was really who in your circle.
Absolutely. So then you fly to New York. At that point, when I flew to New York, Cam, we had already done, my attorneys and I, we had gotten the recommendation from the court that I would be given probation, right? That 2 years probation, probably a lot of volunteer service, helping kids make better choices.
Hold on, give me. I'm trying to understand just the timeline of things, because I know the story, but I don't know it accurately.
Yeah.
Right? So when you were about to come clean, you were in the process of saying, when I go back to court, I'm going to tell the truth.
Yeah, well, it was all kind of around the same time,
okay.
Right? So told federal investigators the truth, right? And that started everything, that I was being be put in front of the judge and there was going to be a sentence
but
of some sort.
I guess that's what I'm asking. I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's what I'm asking. After that 4 to 5 year kind of stint, you're still competing. The gray area for me is, okay, nobody knows nothing, right? But while this is happening, this emotion of it's still not right for you. What was that step for you to say, I got to make this right? And was that time in front of a court, or was that a call to whoever to say, I have something that I want to present?
Yeah, the call was, well, to my attorneys, first of all, and then us sitting with federal investigators and saying, this is what I know about all of this. And then them telling us in term, okay, well, right, there's going to be a sentence of some sort because you had signed this letter.
I got you.
And going into that court that day with the recommendation from my attorneys that, you're okay.
You're good.
You're good, right? Although this particular case, you could have up to 6 months, up to 9 months incarceration. The chances of you, Marion,
it's
with
a high
this,
profile
right?
situation.
The chances of you having any time behind is like almost minimal. And I remember going into the court, and almost 3 hours later, this judge, whom I found months later was up for like re-election, right? After 3 hours, looking to my left and looking to my right and saying, did he say 6 months? Right? Like it was a long soliloquy of why I'm going to use you as an example, right? In life, in sport, with these athletes, and this is what's going to happen. So 6 months incarceration. And just like dumbfounded. No idea what to expect. I had never anticipated ever going to prison. And at that point, I had 2 small kids. And just not knowing what the future was going to look like whatsoever.
So let's retract real quick, because I'm still enamored by this young lady growing up in California, seeing the Olympics, and being this phenom, right? Because we did the America did see you blossom into greatness. And at that time, still during this day, we're not used to that blossoming coming from a black woman. Say what you want to say. That's why the Serenas, I mention her a lot, because she meant so much. You meant so much. Sha'Carri means so much. Angel means so much to my daughters and our race. But who introduced you to sport?
I have one sibling, 5 years older than me, and his name is Albert. He introduced me to sport. I like to say, when your brother picks you as the little sister to be on his little neighborhood teams.
You made it.
I made it. I made it way before I won any Olympic medal, when he was picking me to be on his pickle team in our front yard. And he, in addition to my stepfather, who loved sport, loved football, loved the Lakers, loved the Dodgers, so would take me to games. But even more so than that, when he would watch games on television cam, he would make me sit next to him and listen to the athletes after they won or after they lost. And I didn't understand why at the time, right? But my mom, he's since passed, but my mom said that he knew that you were going to be great and you needed to be ready to how to handle that mic being stuck in your face, and how to be humble, and how to answer questions in a way that represents who you and your family are. And so that's where my love of sports started.
Yeah. And throughout this process of the yes men or the yes people in your surroundings, who were they? What did they look like? How did they present themselves, and how did they get so close to you?
They look like coaches. They look like a husband at the time, ex-husband at the time. And I am naturally just a very giving person. Like, I'm not a stuff person. I'm not a things person. So at that time, I was getting a lot of stuff and a lot of things and a lot of money. And hey, like, you need something? Cool, here, right? You want this? Cool, here. And that's how I put together this group of people whom I thought were trustworthy and who either one, just genuinely liked being around me, but realized, of course, later on that wasn't the case. But yeah, it's just a time that I can reflect on and say, all right, poor choices were made. Poor choices were made.
But how does a person go about making it to the Olympics? Let's start with that. Like, we see the story happening, but how did you say, all right, I'm about to go to the Olympics to represent not just LA, not just North Carolina, USA?
Yeah. I didn't look at it like that. I always have looked at it like, I'm going to go and step into what I was made to do. So I mentioned to you that my family is from a small country in Central America by the name of Belize.
Okay.
And my maternal grandfather, who I never had the opportunity of meeting, he would travel to Guatemala to work, right? And my mom tells me this story, that he met a psychic, and the psychic said, somebody in your family, one of your offspring, is going to be famous, right? And he told my mom that, and my mom has passed down this story. But this idea, even from a young girl, Cam, knowing that, like, I was meant to be great, right? So when I started competing, and I started off with all kind of sports, right? Like soccer, basketball, everything. When I started to see success, it was kind of like, oh, like, this is what's meant to happen, right? And so from the outside, people looking in, they're like, like, to me, every step was, okay, check. This is part of the journey. Check. Made the national team. At 15 years old, I made my first Olympic team, right? So people who like this argument of, she took performance-enhancing drugs, and that's how she became fast and how she became famous. Well, anybody who's done the timeline of my journey, right, from 9 years old to making the Olympic team at 15, choosing not to go, traveling across the country to the University of North Carolina to play basketball under a basketball scholarship, and then dabbling in track, graduating from Carolina, and within 13 months, becoming the fastest woman in the U.S., right? And getting a chance to meet my idol in Jackie Joyner-Kersee and beat Jackie, right? In some competitions, but allow her to be in her space and have her. Yes.
Clean. This is what people need to understand.
Yeah.
Because once you juice, like, that was the reason for your success, and that's not the case.
But people also, like, when they are not understanding the process, they'll hold on to that, right? But again, I say, if you know the journey, you know all the way up into this time, right? Like, I'm not taking anything. I'm not being given anything.
Right.
Right? And so the idea of the Olympics in 1997, I remember I was at a competition in Zurich, Switzerland.
Wow.
And post-race press conference, somebody asked me, all right, Marion, the next big competition will be the Olympics in Sydney. What do you want to achieve in the Olympics? And I said, I suppose flippantly, I says, hey, I want to win 5 gold medals. Not because, like, I'm cocky or anything, but because I'm dominating the 100, dominating the 200, dominating the long jump, and I'm a member of the 4x1 and 4x4, which is the Americans are usually gold medalists, right? So those
At
are
that
5
time.
events. And I didn't know at that time, Cam, that it had never been done before, right? So when I said that in 97, 3 years prior to the games, it took off like wildflower, right? And the U.S. and the world were looking for this golden child, right? And I became that person during that time.
Now, throughout this time, these people, is it a little thing, or is these people in your, like, it was not how can I say it? Because I'm trying to piece the things together. At 15, okay, cool. You're creating this wave around who you are, the specimen, right? Go to North Carolina on something that, still becoming this superwoman, so to speak. The timeline goes to Sydney, where you mentioned friends, you mentioned ex-husband. Were they in your life at that time?
Yeah.
And your approach to track and field, was that altered in any, like, how did you navigate still being the best version of yourself through it all, looking back at it?
Well, I suppose that knowing that I've always been able to win, I've always been the best at what I did from 9 years old up until that point. Always. Not only because genetically I was gifted,
Right.
but there's nobody that works harder than me. There's nobody that would sacrifice more than me to be first to that line or to be training better than anybody in the world. And so even in the midst of all of that, all of those people, Cam, that's what I could hold on to, right? Gifted, work hard, sacrifice. And no matter what else is going on in my life, that's always a steadfast.
Yeah. That was the core of who you were. And even with me first seeing you, it was like, yo, this is a big chick. You know what I'm saying? Like, your stature was more engulfing than the other one. You and Kayla. Like, when you look at Kayla, it was like, yo, she's a big woman that normally you'll see the 5'8", the 5'9", but you two were obviously bigger than everybody else. But when you look at your journey, who was the first person to introduce you to the drug?
Yeah. Wow, Cam. Nobody. You gotta imagine how many times I've been asked this, and nobody has asked that specific of a question.
I'm asking because I genuinely want to know. This is not coming from nobody. This is my sheer, because I've
curiosity.
I'm make it so plain to you. When I tell you, I knew nothing. I knew nothing, and then now it's like, yo. I respect our interactions so much that I'm like, how? Because this is bigger than your story. This is you can save an athlete, you can save a person from making a mistake, because had I had an interaction with you, it was like, okay, I see that. I can see how she, literally, hand on the Bible. If you gave me what you've been through, knowing how I met you, I would not even, no, hell no, Marion, fuck no, how? So there's things that I'm asking, I'm like, yo, it's needed, because I think of my children, I think of my daughter, I think of my sons, I think of them to understand in the blink of a moment, right? And distractions and temptations comes in many different shapes, forms, and sizes. That's what stems the question of who was the first one?
Yeah. I mean, and it must have been when I was presented with it all by my team. My team was my coaches. The team was the ex-husband. The team was the manager. The team was the company that we all hired to make this for us. So it was a collective effort. I don't think it was one of them. It was just, this is the program that we've designed, right, for you.
Right.
And this is what we'll need to be taking. That's generally how it was presented.
Right. During the time of, was this pre-Sydney?
Yeah, pre-Sydney.
Okay. So for everybody who understands the psychological of an athlete, for me, my mentality is my edge. You're just not better than me.
Yeah.
You said something that I relate to so much. You're not willing to get to that line faster than me in ways that I sacrifice so much.
Right.
I've put my body in extreme situations that even, which goes back to special forces, it's like, I'm not about to blink.
Yeah.
You can't scare me. That tactic is not, I've been dark.
And then you put on top of that family, like what I know my mom has been through to get me where I'm at, right? You add on all these other pieces of the puzzle, and people are surprised when they see a certain type of success.
Yeah.
And if they really knew all of the behind the scene images, they wouldn't be surprised. Like knowing that what she had to go through to come to this country at her age, and what she left and what she had to deal with when she was here, and to say, you know what, I want better for my kids, right? So people are surprised when they hear success, or people are surprised when I say, well, in that moment, these are all the things that are going through my head at 24 years old. How can you be surprised, really?
So even, as you mentioned, the sanctions came down.
Yeah.
Right? And typically how much media comes with the situation, you're not expecting, hey, I'm doing a service by coming clean.
Yeah.
Some will argue, really? 6 months is the max. You give me the max? Solitary confinement, how did that make you feel? Being a human, fuck the athlete. Knowing that you were almost the sacrificial lamb to the world.
Yeah. I think if I allowed myself to look at it like that, I would struggle even now with forgiving myself. So I allow everybody else to look at it from that lens. I look at it simply from the lens of just generally, I thought it was unfair, right? That even if I wasn't whom you described just now, this sacrificial lamb, the idea of, telling a lie, and then having to go through what I went through, just generally unfair. But then I circle back, and the way that I'm able to fight through it, Cam, or have pushed through it, is I say to myself, and I think your mom will appreciate this, he doesn't give us more than what we can handle. So he must think I'm a bad mama jamma. Because he had the story was already written before I was even brought into this world, that I was going to be this person, this athlete, that I was going to face these challenges, and that this was going to happen to me. But all along, he knew I was going to be able to get through it and turn around and be where I'm at right now. The ability to share this with people whom are not fighting this exact struggle that I did, but they're fighting their own struggle in their own world, whatever that looks like, right? Divorce in their family, career loss, whatever they're fighting, they need to see that you don't have to stay in that place. You don't have to stay stuck, no matter who you are. And if I have to be that living example, oh, wait, Marion, I remember Marion. I grew up watching Marion. And man, I remember when those things happened to her. And wait, she ain't done? I mean, she's jumping off of bridges, right? Like she hanging on to helicopters, right? She's catching up with Cam. Like if that, all of this is, I had to go through this to help people know that they don't have to be done when hard things happen to them, then hey, I'm here for it.
So I want to ask this question, right? Throughout this whole process, do you feel like your legacy was impacted? Well, do you feel like your legacy was stripped away from you? And hold on, how do I want to ask it? Because I don't want to. What is the lasting impact on your legacy?
Well, I certainly don't think that the narrative that everybody has written for me will be it. I'm creating it. Ultimately, I would love the legacy to be, you know what, like this incredible talent, a lot of success, some hiccups, but man, what she did after the hiccups really is what ultimately is what helped change people's lives for the better. And that is, I go back to Cam, like what this life of ours really should look like, all of us, but particularly those of us that have benefited from an extraordinary amount of talent and personality, is that how has the journey for us impacted positively the lives of people?
Yes.
Like that is what now I hold on to as that is the idea of success.
A lot of people live vicariously through you.
Yeah.
And are heavily impacted through what you do. That's positively and negatively. In this new age of NIL, I guess a joking question would be, when was the first, or how early was it for you to receive an endorsement?
Well, I graduated from the University of North Carolina in 1997, in May of 1997, and my first endorsement probably was July after I graduated from
January,
college.
February, March, April, May, June, July. That's like
right.
35 days.
Oh, right. And
how old were you?
21.
21.
Yeah.
Do you understand this world of NIL where now athletes can make real money?
Do I understand it like conceptually, right? Yeah. One, that they should. That's just how I feel. You are making so much money for everybody else, and now you get compensated, and it's a problem?
Yeah.
How is that a problem?
Yeah.
But it does make it very difficult now when looking at college sports, trying to understand the difference between professional and college.
It's no different.
There's no difference.
It's like as soon as high school is over with, you're a professional athlete.
But what I do like about it is because now, and I was telling somebody even on my way here, there's no real incentive to leave college early. So hopefully the trend is that you see kids now getting their degree because there's no need to leave early.
Right.
You can make however much money still being in school, playing, not having your body beat up as much as it will in the pros. Why wouldn't you stay there for now 4 or in some cases 9, 10 years in college? Right? Like, what's the incentive really? Okay, at some point you want to play professional sports, but what's the...
Okay, I'll give you a tangible reason or an example to your point why kids will stay in college longer. It was a joke that said Cam Newton going to the NFL, Cam took a pay cut, right, for the NCAA allegations. But in real life, nowadays, you got kids that's signing for $4 million, $6 million, up to $10 million in college in real money. And you have to ask yourself, do I make that $10 million or become a 4th or 5th round draft pick where I will make $2 million? And you put a lot of things into perspective. It's like, this whole world that we live in is now it's always been transactional.
Right.
The common question of what is it in it for me?
Yeah.
Right. What school am I going to go to that's going to give me the best chance to make it to the next level? Right. Now kids going to school, and the biggest caveat is how much money am I going to make? Because it's real issues that individuals have. I remember being in college and track and field athletes had endorsement deals, but it was only contingent. It was like they were still collegiate athletes, but they were represented by the Pumas. They were represented by the Adidas. I didn't know how it was allowed, but they were still endorsed athletes. And now you see that change full circle. Now it's everywhere. It's in basketball, it's in baseball, it's in football. And the best example that somebody said was that athletes have always made money for universities. And if you see a figure of a tree, the branches were always thriving, green, had so many color, but the root, it was bare. It was not being harvested right, but it was still producing so much money. You know, I think about my years in college and how much money I made for universities.
Yeah.
And just my brain can't even wrap my brain around like how much. So no matter what was given or what was, and dare I say given because nothing was gave, right? But I see the monies that athletes get now. So to that point, it's not what they are getting for anybody to look at and say, is he really worth $10 million? It's to you ask the question, is that university worth getting these TV deals and getting these network deals and these sponsorships from so many, different places, and what does the athlete have to show for it?
Yeah. And really, what support are they getting, right? From a business standpoint, are they providing them with a sound business education?
Yeah.
Right? Like, how do you handle your money?
Yeah.
Are they also helping them in regards to like the pressure, like mindset, psychologically? Are they supporting them? Right? Now all of a sudden at 17, 8 years old, you're a multi-millionaire, right? With all the pressure in the world, right? You want to take care of your family. You want to take care of your future. You have to, do this for the university. Is anybody like really looking out for the kid?
Yeah.
That's what I also, I've heard people ask me, do I feel a sense, because I came around during a time when in school, we didn't get much.
Yeah.
Cam, I was around the time when we didn't get much.
I was around it. Man, listen, I don't give a damn what somebody may say. I ain't get much either. Like, look. You said don't believe what you read, bruh.
Right.
Trust me. Like, I was starving.
But in terms of holding on, like, there's never been any amount of jealousy, because the way that I look at it is we have paved the way.
Yes.
We've paved the way with how it should have always been. And now I truly feel like it's our responsibility to make sure that certain things are in place to take care of those young people, right, who are getting what they deserve.
What would you say to the supporting cast that has access to a prominent star? Right? Like you being thrusted in the limelight, me being thrusted in the limelight, we all can share that vulnerability of, I'm rich as hell. That's what my bank account states. But I'm broke as hell because of my mentality still and the people that's closest to me. How would you counsel the mom, the brother, the uncle, the auntie, the coach to nurturing that specific individual?
Oh, keep your circle small in all of it, right? Like, mama's always gonna be mama, no matter what. Whether you lose it all or you are a multimillionaire, mama's mama. Keep your circle small. Trust what your mama said. If you don't have a mama, trust your tight knit group of people before everything else, before the business managers, right? Before all these people are going to say you need to be here and do that.
Yeah. Going through what you went through, there's an evidence of trust that you had to relinquish. Those trust issues, what did that look like for you?
Yeah, that was hard. That's probably, Cam, one of the hardest character traits that I have had to work on in all of this, because we didn't use this term, but you feel in a way burned by the system, burned by the people whom you thought loved you and cared for you, and so it's just cemented the idea that, hey, I'm going to live how I want to live, be who I want to be, and find people whom I know love me for whoever I am now, right? Yeah. Not necessarily for what I can buy or do, but just because of who I am.
Yeah. So through that time, you spoke about your ex-husband. Like, my parents have been together for 40 years, and I couldn't even wrap my mind around the breach of trust that I'm not married. I have some superheroes that I identify as people that are married, that are great figures of examples. And when you say what you say, it's like, damn, how did that even happen?
A lot of it is, and I'll say it, and I think a lot of people do, but in my case, it really holds true. And, my parents, I am from a divorce household. My parents divorced when I was very young, and my mom was forced to be a single parent rock star, I like to say. But not having that male presence throughout my really developing years, I think contributed to some of the relationship decisions that I made when I graduated from college in regards to whom I'm in a relationship with, my business manager relationship, who was a male, my coaching relationship, who was a male, and wanting that so bad. I didn't have it, and thought that, going into this world of pressure to succeed and to produce and pressure to make a lot of money, that in essence I needed a male figure to kind of help guide me.
Navigate.
And putting all of that trust in these people's hands. So I can identify that not having the male figure growing up contributed to some of those different relationship decisions during that time.
It's evident that you've been through a lot. I think through this journey of healing, have you forgave yourself?
I'm a work in progress, Cam. Meaning that I have forgiven myself and forgiven myself for hurting my inner circle, right? My family and my close friends. I am not going to take on or continue to take on this idea that I hurt the world, that I hurt the nation, right? And that every single time I'm asked about this, right, there's an apology. The apologies are, I've apologized, right? There was a space for that and a time for that, but it's done.
Yeah.
I am done with it. And there are some people that will never be enough. Well, I'm not living for those people, right? I've moved on, so should they.
Now, I ask you this, have you forgiven the people who've wronged you?
Forgiven? I don't know, but they don't take up any space in my world. Like I don't think about them. They don't take up any time in my reflection of the situation. Ultimately, I'm like, man, Marion, they just don't. I don't know. Forgiving them, I don't know. I don't think so. I'll be honest. I don't think so.
Real.
I don't think I ever will.
But
because I'm ultimately, Cam, I'm my mama's daughter, and I'm good, and nobody deserves to have been shitted on, and sometimes that's how it feels.
And I know it's tough. Mm-hmm. It's hard to be taken advantage of in such a, like, for me, I protect myself from people. Mm-hmm. And once you're in, it's family. It's not friends. It's like, bro, you get what I get. Sis, you get what I get. Like, you eat what I eat. Man, whatever you need. I'm never going to allow you to suffer if I'm straight. You see what I'm saying? And it just does something to you when you expect yourself in other people.
Right. Yeah.
And that's hard.
Mm-hmm. Because that is I think a character strength, what you just described, right? To be able to identify, you know what, we're not blood, but you're a blood now.
Yeah.
And to know that is a incredible, strong trait that your parents have instilled in you. And for that to have been sabotaged is hard to accept.
Yeah. So what are you doing now? Like, we stayed on a topic of past for so long. Uh-huh. Like, now, what is Mama Marion doing now? You know what I'm saying? Like,
so I like to say I am a sum of some incredible people, right? So I am a Creole woman. My father was Louisiana Creole. My mother is like a Spanish Latin Creole. So I was joking with somebody that I'm just this big old ball of fire that refuses to settle at this point. So, I mean, my hands, I almost also like to say, I don't have any Jamaican in me, but, a Jamaican will hustle. All right. So I got a lot of things going on. I'm excited to be able to share that. I know that people out there, Cam, as you do, need to hear stories to uplift.
Yeah.
People need to hear stories of people coming back from things, and I'm excited to be able to share that. I'm, going into the podcast world.
Yeah, well, congrats.
It's called
welcome to the community.
And it's called Second Wind, and myself and my business partner are going to start that journey. I'm excited to be able to really show people what it looks like when people come back from stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, I'm a great example of it, but there's so many more incredible examples of that. I still have such a passion for fitness and movement that I train people on how to live longer and healthier, how to just be better, eat better, all those type of things. And I'm mom.
Yeah.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, that's what I love to be, make sure that these kids are right and they're ready to just positively impact this world and watch them do it.
I always wanted to ask this question. Did you ever try to get your medals back?
I didn't.
Would you, though?
No, because I know that at the core of it, would I have won? Even without anything that had been given to me?
Yeah.
1,000%.
Yeah.
But at that time, I was being given stuff.
Yeah.
So just in regards to, they could have the medals, but I'll tell you that I know.
Yeah.
I know, and a lot of people know.
For sure.
That I would have won, but hey.
So how is that, like, that athlete never leaves the body?
Yeah.
mentally, you're all like once an athlete, always an
Let me
athlete.
tell you, you tell me 6 months, Cam. Give me 6 months just to train. Could I be back out there with Shakar, all of them? Now the body.
What? Yeah,
It's
yeah.
up here, up here,
Yeah.
right? In the moment,
Yeah.
nobody has this, even now, I'll tell you, and I watch sport, you know, I'm a fan of sport, I'm a fan of the sport of track and field and basketball, and you can argue what you want, but in terms of mindset, in terms of like mental toughness,
Yeah.
there's not a person out there. I'll go against you right now. Yeah, but really, I don't think there's a person out there. And then you add on now all of my life experience, even before
For sure.
that, I don't think hands down, I mean, I could crush somebody just with the power of this.
Yeah.
And now you put life experience on top of it. Now the body.
To that point, with the show, I was like, okay, you know, when we was milling, I was like, oh shit, here it come. Here it come. I know who I'm going for. And I tell Kayla this. I was like, yo, okay, I ain't gonna cap. Well, I thought Marion, like that was a heavyweight bout. Cause like when we were there lined up and they kept calling it milling, I'm like, what the fuck? What is that? That's boxing.
Well, if you had watched
Go
season
fight.
1 and season 2, you would have
Never.
known what it's called.
Never. But I'm looking at it happen, and I'm like, okay, everybody's looking down the road. I'm saying, okay, who am I going to go up against? Because me personally, I thought I was going to have to go against the drill sergeant.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, who?
Which would have been really good TV.
I ain't gonna
I
cap.
mean-
Because I really wanted to fight one of them because, first off, I wanted to see what he knew and if his dog was
Yeah,
bigger than my
yeah,
dog.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because that mentality, like, bro, I don't give a fuck. We going there. But that mentality of you getting into that mode and then it's grunting and then all of a sudden you guys started fighting and then you hear, oh! I said, oh no.
Yeah. And so let me tell you how I approached it, because I knew that at some point it was going to happen, because
Right.
I had watched the other 2 seasons, and when I looked to my left, I was like, okay, well, either it's going to be Kayla, or for the first time they were going to have a woman fight a dude, and I thought Landon.
Yeah.
Right? Even Landon was standing next to me. He said to me, if they make me go against you, I'm going to take it easy. And I was like, you don't need to take it easy. I told him that.
What?
Right? Because we didn't know. And so then I saw the mask. And to me, it was not a lot of protection for my face.
Yeah.
Okay? And I thought, all right, well, in all of this, I'm going to protect my face.
Yeah.
So when you do that, what do you do with your hands? You protect your face,
Yeah,
and what
and
do you
then
keep
your ribs,
exposed? You
yeah.
keep that exposed. And then if there was one thing that I wish that I would have trained a little bit more, and I think Kayla does some type of kickboxing.
Yeah, she does.
Anyway,
She does.
I would have done some boxing ahead of time to realize. And then, and the reason that I know this is because when I went down, and they didn't show this in the final show, but that I remember I went down.
Yes.
And I had a feeling, I'd never broken my ribs before, but I knew something was wrong. And then they came over to me,
Yeah.
the DS, Billy, and he says, "Are you done? Number 6? Are you
And you kept fighting.
Yeah, he says, "Are you VWing?" Well, of course not.
Yeah.
So I pull myself up, protect my face.
Yeah.
Kayla went right back for those
Yeah.
ribs right there.
Yeah.
And
But that's what they didn't understand about that show as a whole. It's all in the edit, right?
yes,
How long were you fighting for?
it felt fast to me. I don't know. For me, it felt fast. Yours actually wasn't fast.
Bruh.
They let y'all go on. I thought y'all were, first of all, I thought you were flying off the cliff.
He was like,
It wasn't.
he was, so when you were saying like, yo, you and Landon was talking, I was so dark.
Yeah.
Cause I thought to myself, I was like, bruh, I'm still thinking I'm gonna have to fight the DS. Cause I'm like, I gotta go somewhere that I've never been before or haven't been in a long time. Cause I've been away from football going on 4 years now. And there's never been a time, like you go play basketball, you go play
It's not the
pickleball.
same.
It's not the same. And even when you get into a spat from somebody who you're competing with, it's like, bro, all right
It ain't
now,
worth it.
I'm
And
trying
it
to tell
ain't,
you.
and you think it ain't worth
I'll
it.
fuck you up now. But that time,
Yeah.
I literally had an opportunity to say, okay, I'm gonna fuck you up and I'm about to show you what I'm gonna do.
Yeah.
And I just apologized to Nathan because first off, he's a swimmer.
Yeah.
Nothing about a swimmer ever has to go where a football player has to go.
Yeah.
Not training, not nothing. And I'm saying to myself, okay, if you look at it, and my brother told me this, he said, bro, I knew you was in that mode because if you look back at that fight, you weren't even looking at him. Mm-hmm. I was looking down because I didn't want to get distracted by feeling sorry for him when they said go. I didn't see Nathan. I was like, bro, out of everything, this is real. I have to prove that if they had me match up with anybody else, they was gonna get the same.
And I wish I had the ability, Cam, in that moment to communicate with you what I saw from the boat, from the first moment on where they wanted it to go, right? With you, right? Not that it would have maybe made that much of a difference, but if you realize, even when they told you, or you saw we were about to fight, if you saw what I saw in that this is the person that they were creating from the moment that the show started, you knowing that and thinking that potentially would have shifted. You were going to beat Nathan, but it would have helped you to avoid going to that dark place that you just shared, right? If you could see outside in, that I could see it all along.
Yeah.
Anytime they talked to you, anytime they told you to do something, even when we were in the ocean flipping back, how they would speak to you. And then the idea of, I just don't go there because that's exactly what they
And I
want.
bit that bait.
You went there.
I said, motherfucker, bring it on. Shit, I'm about to finish this motherfucker over the damn the
cliff.
The mountain we go. Goddamn. I'm gonna go down fighting. But I that time, and then there's a clip. The funny clip was like, you see them talking amongst themselves, the DSs. They're like, look at 16, look at 16. He's over there doing some weird shit.
Yes,
It's like, bro, I had to woosah. Because I'm saying to myself, bro, they don't know. I've never tapped into that type of rage before. Mm-hmm. And the title of it was, if you remember, they were talking, controlled aggression. Uh-huh. I had aggression. I didn't know how to control it. Because even in football, you have this notion of like, I'm the biggest, baddest motherfucker on this fucking field and can't nobody do nothing about it. As a matter of fact, I'm a gladiator and these people are witnessing my greatness. They want me to show how outrageous,
But what's disappointing, if we're holding on to the idea that this is how it's supposed to be in the real world when they're training for special forces, they would never want that with what they brought out of you, right? They wouldn't, because you would.
They would or would not?
Would not.
Okay.
Right? Because it would sacrifice potentially you losing some type of control. It would sacrifice almost the whole team.
Yeah. But I don't agree with that. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I say it is because before that show, ignorantly speaking, I never really believed in PTSD. Ignorantly speaking. After that show, my heart goes out to every single individual that has ever went through something that it's hard for you to close your eyes. It's hard for you to hear certain sounds. It's hard for you to see certain things because it instantly triggers something in you. And for the first one, hell, I'm damn near a year removed and I'm still afraid to look over a cliff because those things are something that you have to tap into that rage, because when you go to Afghanistan, when you go to these different places, you don't even know if you're coming back.
I hear you. But the idea that after you complete a successful mission, and it was successful for you in the milling, but in the real world, if they were to successfully complete that part and they're to survive and there's something next, right, that you have to be very aware of.
Yes.
Right? And so
Yes.
that's what I'm saying in regards to the show and this specific situation. Getting that out of you at that moment in the real world, I don't think would have been ideal.
Yeah, because what you're saying, and I agree, your emotions at that point of time going dark would have jeopardized
everybody.
the next.
And everybody.
Yeah.
Right? Not just you.
Yeah.
But it would have jeopardized you, but everybody else who was still a part of it.
Yeah. I see that. There you go. See, this is the fucking voice of reason. And I'm sorry for cussing, but this is who I know. This is who that person to put things into perspective. Not fuck that. No. Cam, listen. Look at it through this lens. But I'm interested to understand the mama side, and have you allowed your children to get into, like, what do they do? Are they athletes? Like, what is that like?
So yeah, they're all naturally gifted in their own regard. I've been very cautious to allow them to forge their own future, right? I have my oldest ran track. He has a very similar build to me, long and lean. My middle played basketball for most of his life. And then his senior year in high school, decided he wanted to try track. Got a full scholarship. He's at the University of Texas running.
What?
Just ran in his first competition last week.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
And I was joking with everybody that my kids are not impressed really by anything that who I am, because they're just your kids.
Right.
But yesterday, my middle said, where are you going, Mama? And I told him where I'm going and who I'm gonna chat with. He was very impressed and excited
What?
to be sitting down chatting with you, which says a lot, right?
Yeah.
It says a lot that they didn't grow up even when you played, really. But who you are to these kids even now is highly respected. So it says a lot about post-sports, post-athletic career of certain people, and particularly you, that you got these kids who didn't watch you really play football besides now looking at stuff on YouTube, but they see you still making an impact, doing right, trying to be a positive role model to them. And it's something that is overlooked right now in the media, particularly in regards to you. I'll just keep it real, right? There's negative this, you're this. No, these young boys, they look at you, Cam, all right? And they look at you with respect, and the idea that my 17-year-old can say, that's some good, that's cool, Mama.
But
it says a lot.
I'll say it this way. A lot of times we grow up in an era now where hate can be disguised as love too. And it's hard for people, and it really stemmed from, generational pass downs of not being able to really verbalize yourself, right? And what I say that is, I've always made myself accessible to the next generation, right? You see me at philanthropic events, you see me with my 707 All-Star team, and what goes viral is the kids that may not know my impact, or they know me and they still, oh man, Cam, you didn't jump on, oh, you lost in the Super, oh man, you ain't, man, you had one good, you're a bump. But I look at it like, they just don't know how to express themselves. For me, I never wanted to be this image of perfection. You said something that I relate to is, you gotta show yourself. Because I was the person in the shell where it's like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to, like, it's not important to me. But what is important to me is for my sons, my daughters, the younger generation to see a black man be extremely confident in themselves, not cowering to authority, not shaking or, suppressing himself in the face of anything other. Bro, I'm gonna be me. I don't give a damn. My lights will never get dim to make you shine brighter. That's just how my father raised me. So we need figures in the limelight that people can relate to. And I've always used my hair as this symbol of, bro, I'm not cutting my hair. I want people to look at me and say, like, yo, bro, like, you got dread. Yes. Like, it's okay to be you. I grew up in a time where the clean cut was in. The crew cut, skint fade, clean face, all that. I'm like, no. What are we telling ourselves? Because I know I can be what I want to be. No, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
Because if I can be what I really want to be, I don't have to whisper how I really want to feel.
Yeah.
Now, to the black man, to the white man, to the whoever, that's not being unaware, because that's what we don't hear. It's like being confident in who you are. That doesn't mean you can just be this person that just spat out anything.
Right.
You have to be aware of your surroundings. Your intellect has to rise in discernment and discretion. But when the younger generation or a child or a young man or whoever, a peer, may look at me and it does my heart good for them to say, bro, I fuck with you. Like you a cool ass dude, bro. You give me hope. And that's it. So when I talk to my sons, don't ever tuck your tail. Don't ever feel confident when every single time you walk out, I can only bestow upon you the things that I feel you need to be a better man. And even sometimes a better woman for my daughters. But that right there, we don't have a lot of figures on TV that, hey, I like him. And I owe a service to not say I'm gonna be perfect. It's just to be able to say, hey, I fucked up. Y'all know I fucked up. But I'm gonna tell you what I would have done knowing what I know now.
Yeah.
So.
But let's talk really quick about these locks on Special Forces.
To me.
It was hard dealing with this hair on that show.
Man, every picture was, it's like, bro, why you wearing your hair like that? Because I kind of wanted to have that rebelliousness look to it, because it was to the side, to the right. But when that sugar cookie came,
When you got back after the show, how much dirt and sand were embedded in those locks?
Usually I wash my hair personally, because typically people who wash hair, like for my scalp, I need you to really get in there. You know what I'm saying? The first time I washed it, I had to go to a salon, and the lady was like, she was kind of like ragging on me. She was like, "Oh my God, don't you ever let your
That's what
hair
somebody said to me too. And at that point, I couldn't share
Yes.
why I had a pound of dirt and sand in these locks.
Bruh, she was scraping. It was almost like shredded cheese. Like she was scraping my scalp, and she was like, "Look at that! Look at that! You think that's clean?"
This is neglect.
I said, "Man,
this is neglect.
Look, you do your job. Just do your job. I don't want to go there now. You know, because it's triggering. It's traumatic. You feel what I'm saying? But it's so much about the person who I've now know as a friend. One of the main things that I love about you is you're free. It's evident. It's all in your aura. And how is going from an athlete, being ridiculed in many different ways, still having that smile, having children, being this person that, oh, you can't, but yes, you can. Take me through this, what's the word? This journey of freedom.
It has been a process. When, Cam, I was at the height of my career, it was also during a time when probably for the first time a woman of color was getting paid as much, if not more, than my male counterparts. And there's also the pressure during that time to have a certain look, to talk a certain way, to date a certain person, to live a certain life, because that was what was expected. And again, I go back to the circle that you keep and having people around you saying, that's how you're supposed to do it. That's how you're supposed to do it. But after you live some and you live life with a lot of hiccups and a lot of bumps, you realize that no matter what you present to the world, there's going to be judgment. There's going to be opinions. So you might as well just live your life, right? Because it could be short. And once you get that under your skin and you're like, you know what? Hey, nothing really to lose. Everything to gain. Your self-confidence, your worth, how you feel, how you live. Then it's time to just drop the mask of everything that was keeping you from being who you truly are and live. And once you discover that, man, it's a whole other wonderful life.
I mean, this is it's so empowering to hear you speak about, but it's always hard being an athlete that's in the public eye, but for you to come out with your sexuality in that way, how did you build up the courage to do so?
Years. The decade away from the spotlight helped because I didn't have the judgment from the world anymore. But then realizing that I need to be healthy and happy for the people that I've created a world around, my family, my kids, my community. And this idea that I am living or I am being for somebody else is really not worth it. I'm also, as a parent, I go back to everything you say and don't say. Everything you do and don't do will affect your kids. And if they're seeing you not live authentically, what a major, just a hard lesson for them to learn. And so on my 10 years away, I was living my life, right? Like I knew that whom I claimed to be attracted to, was not who I was, who I am. And I share with my mom and my inner circle, and everybody's like, we knew, Mary. We knew. We were just waiting for you to feel comfortable with expressing who you are. And it's been a long journey, but ultimately the idea that I can say, hey, I love a woman, I live with a woman, I'm happy, but more so like my kids see what like true love looks like.
That's what I want to ask, because some would say the real question is, in that unconventional household, how were you able to really break the news to your children, and how do they treat the situation?
Well, a lot of times when you have kids, you as the parents expect certain situations to be a lot more traumatic than how they will actually deal with it, right? And once I made the decision to like just live authentically, right? Like date a woman. Like, I divorced men in the past. And when I made the decision that I was gonna live the life how I want to, how I feel, who I am, it's a conversation different with every kid because they all have different personalities and they process things differently. But all along you share like, hey, like love is love. Like you start from that from they're young. And if you have a supportive, like other parent that helps, right? In that their father, right, knew certain things that I shared with him, and we were able to communicate certain things in a way that each kid understood. And ultimately, though, my kids see me happy, maybe for the first time in however long. And that's everything to me. I want my kids to see a healthy, happy relationship, because if they see it, if they're around it, they're more likely to have that be what they're looking for when they get in that time. And that's everything, right? And it doesn't have to be, hey, you're in a situation, you're in a relationship because this is what everybody says it should look like, but my mama's unhappy.
Yeah.
Like, what message am I sending that to my daughter?
Yeah.
Like, be with a man just because the world says that this is how it should be.
And suffer.
But my mama is not happy.
Yeah.
What message is that sending to her? And that was important for me.
I think what's important, especially using this platform to really impact and empower, right? Because to the world, you're Marion Jones, the athlete, right? But the person who I'm sitting across is Marion, the human being. Mm-hmm. What are things that you could say to that person who is suffering in silence? Yeah. Whether from sexuality, whether from life situations, whether from jobs, like, could you give words of
encouragement?
Like, yeah, please.
You know, the overarching message that I share is one, everybody, you're not immune. If you're hearing this or seeing this, you're not immune to setbacks. Whatever that setback looks like, Cam, right? It could be a setback, meaning that you don't have the courage to share with your parents what your true sexuality is. Or your setback could be, hey, you've experienced some type of trauma and you don't know how to handle it. My words of encouragement or what I share is that you don't have to stay there, right? You can do something about it. Do something about it looks different in every situation. If you're talking about coming out, right? If somebody's listening to this and they're like, they're just stuck. And the world is saying, hey, right? Like, you know, it's Pride Month. This is the month to come out. Yeah. But that's not for everybody. Yeah. It might not be your moment. It might not be your time. Cam, I'm 49 years old. I'm about to be 50 this year. And I just became comfortable in the past decade, like, this is who I am. And it took me almost my whole life to find a space and a community and a place where I'm like, give yourself grace that you can do this. If you're ready, share with the world, share with your parents, share with whomever. If you're not, right, I would encourage you to find somebody to talk to, right? A mentor. Even if it's not a parent, I've been there. It's hard to talk to our parents sometimes, a teacher, whomever it is. But to get your thoughts out of this, out of your own temple, is everything.
You spoke about just going through any process, there's a traumatic piece. Was there something that happened to you that was traumatic to lead you to this? Or there's always the question, you're born this way. Or something happened that triggered you to, what was your experience like?
Nothing traumatic happened to me. And I didn't have a failed relationship where I was like, done with your kind at all. I can reflect and know that even, you know, in my adolescence, there were times where I'm like, hey, like, this is my attraction to, right? Personality, body type, all of that. But you tell yourself over and over again, this is how it has to be, right? And then you put yourself in a situation where you hear from the establishment in a way like, this is how it needs to be for you. And you just fit right into that mold. And you think that your happiness will be quenched with money, right? Or with fame. And the happiness really comes from within, as we know. And it doesn't have to do with sexuality, but man, when you find somebody, it sure does help.
That's beautiful. Now I'm going to change gears here real quick. We have this question of the day.
Okay.
Right? And just to give you perspective of why we call this the question of the day, is usually a question asked that provokes thought. It provokes discussion and opinions, and it typically requires more than a one-word answer. It may be something that you can agree with, but it forces you to think, right? This is a question that I'm gonna ask you, but obviously to our viewers, they can ask themselves the same question as well. You ready?
I'm ready.
What character or characters from any TV sitcom or movie do you feel you relate to, ever related to, or right now in this particular phase of your life? 3 to 5 characters.
All right. I'll start with Claire Huxtable.
What?
Let me tell you what.
Oh, shit, I'm here with you. I'm here. Claire Huxtable.
So, Claire was one of the first women of color on TV that I could turn on every week when I had 4 channels and see somebody who looked like me have to fill a role that takes care of everything and everybody, right? So Claire was the wife on the show, right? And of course, she was the secondary character, but really she ran the household, right? And I could see my mom in that character. She was a doctor, so she was successful. She was sexy, and she was everything to me. So there's my first character.
That's a good one.
Jackie Joyner Kersee. You said TV show?
TV shows. TV shows or sitcoms?
Okay. Queen Latifah and Set It Off.
Okay.
Again, you gotta know, I am attracted to strong women of color. There were so few images growing up of that for me to see. That it really resonates when one was like powerful and strong.
Respected too.
And respected. And even like now, still.
Yeah, without, and this may be controversial, but without using sex as the leading tool.
Right. And both of those.
Yeah.
Right? But there is still an aura of beauty about
and the
them.
Power, Beauty and the Beast.
And then I'm gonna just break the rule a little bit on this. And you said TV or sitcom, but I'm gonna also go into the music industry.
Cool.
So Tracy Chapman, okay, for me.
Tracy Chapman, Fast Car? Joining Fast Car?
And let me tell you why.
Okay.
Right? Because through her entire journey, entertainment journey, her music journey, she never wavered, right? Like the industry, wants extra. They want you to be this big personality. And always, anytime the camera or the mic is in front of you, for you to give that sound bite. And she has refused, in essence, right? To fill that gap. In addition, she's talented, she's powerful, she's strong, she's able to communicate her power through her talent and not necessarily a soundbite. And to me, that's something so very hard in this world right now that we live in, to not necessarily do the gift of gab, but be able to show, you know what, I am who I am, and I'm strong, and I'm beautiful, and it's through who I am and what I do is so strangely beautiful to me.
I like that. So. Love that. That's hard. Where we at? We're getting into our game now.
I got you at a loss for words?
No, you don't.
Oh.
No, I'm just thinking. That was a solid. What you got? Claire Huxtable, Queen Latifah from Set It Off, and Tracy Chapman. That's solid. All right. You ready to play the game?
Let's do it.
Here we go. The game is called The Draft Sprinter Edition, featuring Marion Jones. The game goes like this. One by one, you and I will draw one name from a hat. Mashika hat, by the way. Then you must lock that name into a position. Then the next person goes. We are going to draft the best 4x1 race.
Of all time?
The positions are first leg, second leg, third leg, and fourth leg. I'm trying to figure out this game too because this is new to me. You must lock them into their place immediately when you pick them, and you cannot move them. Let's see who has a better team.
Let's do it.
Are you ready?
Are you ready?
I think so. I don't know.
So just one by one? Don't look at them, Cam. Just one by one, I'll go first.
Yes.
Meg the Stallion.
Ooh.
Well, okay, so in a 4x1,
Yeah.
so there's 4 members, but there's always 2 extra that you have on the sideline just in case one of them get hurt.
Okay. She the extra?
She the extra. Like your go.
About to say she bringing in the rear though. She's
Hell
strong.
no.
She got that stallion in her. Huh? Okay, what you said? You got 2 on the side?
Yeah.
Kevin Hart. Yeah, your legs too small. Bruh, we trying to get medals. I love you to death. It's inspirational as hell, but track and field?
No.
Nah.
All right.
Okay.
Who I got? Well, this beast is the anchor. Who's that?
Oh, that's Mary.
That's Marion.
Marion the Barbarian.
Okay. Do you agree with that? choice?
Let the church say amen. Amen. All right, here we go. Anthony Edwards. Okay, Atlanta's own. I'm gonna go the second leg, because the second leg, the straightaway. Yeah. Yeah, I'm going with the second leg with Anthony Edwards.
So let me tell you can I say where I would put that person? Or, I would put Anthony on the third, right? Because usually the first person is shorter in stature, because generally out of the blocks you have somebody a little shorter in stature. And if they're coming around to hand to Anthony Edwards, that's a tough transition. And also if Anthony's the third leg, he's handing off to me. I'm fairly tall.
But you got yours and I got mine. This is
okay. I thought we were
No, we ain't together.
We're not together.
My group going against your group.
okay. Anthony second. Okay.
Come on now.
All right. Chris Brown. I better use Chris on the track. Chris is explosive. So we're gonna put him at the gun at the start.
First, that makes sense.
He reacts really quick.
Yeah, fast twitch. There we go. Okay, here we go. Noah Lyles.
Okay.
He gonna bring up the rear.
Sure. Right. Should I talk that one through?
Yeah, please.
You can put Noah against me, right?
Okay.
There's a difference between these kids now
Okay, watch out, kids now.
and those of us who kind of paved the way. And the main difference is we walked our walk and didn't talk our talk.
You walked first and then talk.
We didn't need to talk at all.
The
in all of
walker
it.
was the talking.
Right. And I will always pick the walker instead of the talker.
Well, I like talking. Come on over here, Noah. You can talk all you want. You better win. I don't give a damn what you say. You better win. Go ahead.
Who's this? Who's Twitch streamer?
Twitch? No. Twitch streamer. Twitch is a platform.
Could we pick again?
Sketch?
It says Twitch streamer. All right, thank you. Gabby. Yes, I'll put Gabby on the third leg. Gabby Thomas.
Okay.
Yeah.
You looking at yours?
No.
Keep getting all these studs.
So right now I have Chris Brown.
Yeah.
He's our starter.
Solid. Okay.
Gabby's the third leg. I'm bringing home the rear.
Yeah.
And Meg the Stallion's getting us water.
Meg the Stallion, boy, that's a hell of a water girl. That'd be distracting. Boy, I see, that's y'all water girl? Shit.
It'll make you get to the finish line quicker.
Shit. Noah, you put Megan Thee Stallion at the entrance, boy. But we gonna get that fast, boy. Boy, we gonna get that fast. I Show Speed, the YouTuber. We're gonna go with him in the starting block. You know, with a name like I Show Speed or Speed as they call him, you better be fast. So that's solid. We got him in first.
And Chris in first.
Okay, and then we got Anthony Edwards at second. So now this is the last one.
I need a second. Yeah. Noah Lyles.
Oh, he on both of our team, huh? Let's put him on.
Snoop.
Snoop Dogg, shit. Is he high or is he talking about performance enhancing? Like that right there? Shit.
He's with Meg though. I tell you, we got 2 on the side.
Okay.
All right.
Say
so
that.
I need one more because you already got your 4.
No, I got 3.
Okay,
I
go
got
ahead.
3. Got 3. Go ahead.
Okay. We bringing home the gold.
What that is?
Usain.
Usain? Oh, man, you looking down there. Hold on. Hey, man, tighten up. Golly. Damn. That's a unisex right there, boy. Shit, that's like a celebrity 4x1 team.
Here, I'm gonna set it up here for you.
Okay. I got Usain too, but we ain't gonna double dip. All right, I ain't cheat. I'll see how I'm rocking over here. All right. Okay, Gabby Thompson. Thomas, you already got her. All right.
You've already put together a team that's only going to be in the semis, by the way.
No. This ain't no prelims.
This the finals.
No, this ain't no prelims. Hold
This
on.
the finals.
Hold on. That was Marion Jones right there. I could have cloned. Who cloned Marion Jones? Hey now!
Sha'Carri.
Ain't no Sha'Carri. Got somebody better than Sha'Carri. Cam Newton. What you talking about? We about to go gold. We go plat. Huh? Plat.
Who y'all putting your money on?
Man, listen, we gonna talk the most shit. I can guarantee you that. We gonna talk the most shit. We gonna distract y'all, huh?
You and Noah.
Ready? It's raining out here. Tripping up, slapping down the batons. Yeah, man. Let's see.
I got you.
Yeah, well, that's it. Are we keeping these on set? Damn, I don't know though. We had a chance with Noah. I feel good with Noah.
Yeah, let me put that in the right order. Right there.
All right. Now, to bring this in, we have this segment that we call Question from the Crew. All right. Now, I see your beautiful crew that you have here. And there's a slew of different topics and discussions that we all talked about. And hopefully that prompted questions from somebody else. The question could be directed at either myself or Marion. And do we have any questions from the crew?
I have a question, but it's for both of you. Does that work?
Absolutely.
Okay. So you both talked about what's next in being athletes. Marion's training for a triathlon. Mm-hmm. If you were to both do a triathlon, who would be the better triathlete and who would win?
Oh, I'm giving it to Marion. but I'm gonna tell you why though. Cause this is a new venture. Mm-hmm. Women have this, they're mentally stronger than men. And even through the stint that I've seen Marion, she was always like the calm, more so than me. Like I was like, man, let me tell you something. I already got money. I ain't got to stay here. Like,
And it's almost day 6.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, bro, I'm looking at that watch. I'm like, shit.
That's why you were most mad when you lost your watch. Because
Yes.
you knew what day it was.
Yeah, you know, they lost track of time. But I think Marion get me on that one. And then long distance, I can run long distance, but I can't pace long distance.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
I would agree with you in all that I would win. Only because, one, part of what I also do is about the body. Right now, I train people. You train people too, but I train them in terms of being able to withstand a workout, a run, whatever it is, for longer periods of time. Yeah. And although I haven't done it, I'm doing it now, I understand kind of how to do it and manipulate my mind now in a way whereby before I was asked to go from here to there very fast. And now to be able to have to spread that over 3 disciplines, the swim, the bike, and the run. And yeah, I think I would get you.
But you posed another question that I have to this one. When did you master your mind? Mm-hmm.
I would say after I left college. And I realized that what I already possess in regards to the physical, you put that with personality, but you figure out a way how to make this superior to every other athlete out there, and you will never lose. Because at the elite level, and you even know this, Cam, on that field, when you get, generally, most of those guys, like, physically are specimens, right? But what makes the difference between
what's the determining factor?
And when you learn how to master this, you can never be beaten in anything.
Right.
So after college, before professional life in the sport became a thing for me.
Next
How about
question.
your crew? Anybody in your crew got a question?
Yes. So my question is, as a child athlete, you were obviously one of my heroes. My parents pushed me so hard. My coaches pushed me so hard. By the time it was time to go to college, I got so many offers, I didn't want to run anymore. I was done. I was over it. Do you feel like parents and coaches can push too hard, too early?
The answer is absolutely yes. Let me tell you what, my mom didn't push me. I was the type of kid that was waiting by the door. Come on, mama, we're gonna be late, or I'm not going to this party. But also what benefited me is that I juggled multiple sports growing up. And even through college, I played basketball and ran track, as opposed to friends and teammates who ran from the time we did age group track through high school. They were also done. They were done. It's heavy on the body. It's just a lot. So I think what benefited me is the multiple sports.
How do you counsel a parent, right, to keep things fresh? And we all have different tactics and strategies, but like you as an athlete versus you as a parent is 2 different people. But how do you intertwine them
It's
both?
very hard. I found it very hard to be a former elite athlete and parent, coach, teach your kids. I found that the first lesson that I told them is that you need to do something physical, right? You decide on your sport, right? I will guide you. I see, certain strengths in terms of your body type. Hey, you probably need to do this. You probably need to do that. But you need to do something physical, and you have to stick with it for a season. A lot of parents will allow their kids to be like, oh, mom, the coach is this, my teammate's this, so you can. No, you finish, even if it's just a season. That's what I think. And then in addition to that, you make sure that you have put them in environments to succeed, meaning that you've researched the club, the coach, the parents, the teammates, because once they get to a certain point, you really have to sit on your hands and let them do their thing and navigate the world of sport. That was very hard for me because my kids growing up, they didn't really want to hear from mom.
Yeah.
I was mom. And I found that they would hear from other people who was counseling them and coaching them, and I needed to make sure that they were with the right people and aligned and listening to the right coaches. How about you? How do you navigate all that, Cam?
I try not to coach my kids.
Yeah.
I coach them personally. I don't coach them in groups.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, my kids play football. It's no secret. And just like I'm in here, smoke a cigar, I really want to see the fruits of hard work pay off. And I don't get pressured by a touchdown. Like I don't get pressured by a jump shot. I don't get pressured by. I tell my sons and my daughters that are active in sports, I don't give a fuck how many points that you score. I give a damn about your effort, your effort, your attitude.
Everything.
It's that. It's, do I see you blink because somebody's bigger than you? Do you guard that person? Do you go out your way to say, oh, whoa, no, I got him. Hey, coach, I get more excited by a hustle point in basketball more so than a three-point shot. I get more excited as a football parent, a tackle rather than a touchdown. Because all that alone is teaching you for what's to come. And that's a part of your growth. I don't care if you're the star.
Yeah. Or I would stress, and I stress to them, like what happens when you come out of the game, right? And you're sitting on the bench, right? And you've either gotten into foul trouble, right? Or coach has taken you out. Like, what type of teammate are you then?
Yeah.
Right? Because that is the character that I need to go with you to college and beyond. Right? What type of teammate, what type of person are you with somebody else who's excelling?
Yeah.
Are you like sitting there jealous or in your feelings, or are you using the strengths to make that person even better?
Can we stay here real quick, because I think that there's a needed conversation in sports that we're not having, and it's the convenience of parenting. And I always say to my all-star kids' parents is, they need parents. They don't need homeboys or homegirls. They don't need that, right? You have to have the vision and have a plan for your son, right?
And daughter.
Right? There's too many times where people chase convenience. Hey, I'm going to transfer just so my son can start. Hey, I'm going to go here so my daughter can play. What are you telling that person in the reality of life? Because, true story, yesterday, playing basketball, pickup game. And they're playing basketball, I'm just doing cardio. I'm running up and down the court, talking shit, playing defense, and that. And one of the people who are playing, older crowd, so everybody's the average age of about 40 and up, right? And his son just graduated high school a year ago. He says, yeah, man, so-and-so just goes to college, and he said he don't want to do it no more, so he came back home. I said, and you let him? I said, bro, you coming home, you leave home as a kid, you come home as a man. Like, you gonna do something? Oh man, he in the rapping. Like, bro, come on, bro.
It's also, though, Cam, it's the culture now. They have opened up so many doors. We talk this transfer portal, right, which is a whole other conversation. And in essence, it allows these kids to say, you know what? I don't like this, so I'm gonna try this.
Yeah.
I don't like this, so I'm gonna try this. Back in our day,
You had to stick it out.
you had to stick it out, or you had to sit out. I mean, there was like a 2-year wait before you can go to another school.
Right.
And it's this whole idea of entitlement,
Yeah.
right? You think you're so much better, and that it's greener on the other side, right? Which is setting them up for failure in life.
This is why it's so important, because we are in this entitled era where people don't even respect the Cam Newtons. They just started watching football or watching sports as a whole and just like, man, if you ain't LeBron, I don't. Oh, if you ain't Patrick, I don't. Marion Jones, like, who was that? Like, people came before you and it will behoove you to learn from them, right? So.
Does the truth really set you free, and how? And truth from an overarching standpoint as it pertains to like career, sexuality, mindset.
Me. Yeah.
Who was, yeah.
Yeah,
That's
it's
for
me.
Marion.
There's no doubt that I spoke earlier about this idea of just being authentic in everything. In everything, especially if you have kids, but even if you don't, knowing that nobody could ever question who you are, what you believe, is important.
Any more questions from the crew? I got one too.
I have a question for you.
Oh, talk to me.
With learning and knowing of Marion's challenges in your early athletic career, did you apply any of it to your decision making?
Well, one thing I did know about Marion was she was a phenom. And growing up in Atlanta, like we have like local heroes. You know, one of those local heroes for me was Adam Pac-Man Jones, right? Pac-Man went to my high school, and I always had that like, yo, I want to be better than Pac-Man. You know, Michael Vick played here, and I didn't know how, but I was like, yo, I want to be just like Michael Vick. But you were more on a global stage, even though you were a female, you were black. And just your presence just gave like that, whatever that is, you know, having your hair the way it was in the braids, and not being from no other country besides the United States was empowering for me, even when I didn't even know how to pronounce empowering, you know? And seeing that was really something that I took a little bit of this, I took a little bit of that. And as an athlete, you mentioned that you feed that engine that nobody is better than you. Not in your arena. So that. My question is, when I was watching the show, I was like, yo, I never knew that. Like you put in perspective, right, that you did serve time. And in that, where going back to the milling, it was like, to paint this picture, every interview that you see outside of us in the green Army outfit was done months before, right? But you talked about being in solitary confinement, and what was that like? How you was fighting, and I was like, damn, she was fighting. Damn, I want to ask, but I don't want to overstep. I was like, yo, how the like make it make sense, man? Like I just thought that was so like alarm, but cool though, you know.
And I guess unexpected, you know, I think when people see me and I share that, it's just like, they turn their head up like, what?
What happened?
So as people that are seeing this might understand how it works in the prison system, where there's a commissary, right? You don't deal with money in prison. And so there's a commissary, and there are jobs that are created within the unique prison system for people to be able to buy commissary.
Yeah.
I, of course, had people on the outside making sure there were money on my books. But there are a lot of people who are in prison who have nobody to put money on their books. So they create little side hustles in prison, right? Well, one of them is laundry, okay? Laundry is a funny thing in prison sometimes because people steal. On the outside and in the inside, right? They steal laundry. So, for example, where I was, you could purchase on commissary sweats, like comfortable sweats to if you want to work out. But they cost a little bit from commissary. So they're highly desired amongst everybody. And I had a couple sets, and I would, run and work out. But literally, you have to stand there where the washer is and the dryer, or somebody will steal it. Well, I don't want it. I don't got time for that. So I hire, in essence, somebody to do my laundry there, right? Which means they do my laundry. I purchase what they want from commissary.
Yeah.
Well, I'm noticing that my sweatsuits, Cam, are like disappearing.
Coming up missing.
And I'm, in essence, buying this lady commissary. So I decided to confront her. She was one of my roommates, cellmates. Support team.
Yeah.
And I made sure that I didn't do it in a way that, 'cause you also have to learn how to navigate prison and how people think and talk and relationships. And so I quickly found out that you don't make anybody in that setting look or make them feel embarrassed.
Yeah.
So I decided to confront her when there was nobody else around, right? Which was a mistake. So everybody left for their particular jobs that day, and I says, hey, instead of accusing her, I just decided to relieve her of her duties. So I says, I think, I'm gonna be starting doing my own laundry. Well, to her, that was serious because she would have no other way to get commissary. So it was serious.
Okay.
So she decided she was gonna block me from getting out of the room we were in.
Block you?
Right? So she was
Like shield,
she has a hefty set, but I know, because I said, and I'm done with the conversation, right? We don't need to, I'm just done with it, so I need to leave. So she wouldn't let me leave. So there was a little confrontation, right? A little fight, a little milling.
Little milling. Damn!
And thankfully, though,
To be a fly on the wall to witness that.
my speed, though, because I didn't want to fight. I just want to get out of the situation. I get out of there, and I'm just getting away from her. She's chased me, and the guards caught us, and there was blood, some blood on her and stuff. So anyways, they took us to the SHU, which in federal prison is solitary confinement, and they locked us up for 49 days because it was just her word versus my word.
What does that look like, though? Solitary confinement is...
1 hour a day. I was in Fort Worth, Texas. So 1 hour you're in your cell for 23 out of 24 hours a day. And a lot of times if it was too hot, because it is Fort Worth, Texas, and the guards don't want to let you out, you're in your room 24 hours a day. And they have a little opening in the door. They slide the meal through. They shut it. They come through and count, several times a day, middle of the night. When you leave your cell, you are shackled here and at your feet. You are strip searched every time you come in and out. You get no phone calls and no visits.
What?
49 days. No commissary and none of that. My mail, and I had a lot, people from all over the world writing me. That was held up. Anything that I sent out was read and marked. If the guard or the warden, for whatever reason, because I saw them when I got home and there were red lines through. So, but I found that I joke, but not jokingly, for real. I was probably in better shape when I left the SHU or solitary than I was going into the games because I was able to, again, this, Cam, right? This is my strength, right? My mindset, how I'm able to get through stuff, how I'm able to plan and program and get through my day, which is monotonous when you're just by yourself with nothing.
Yeah.
You write, you work out. I developed a workout routine system unlike any other. So when they were doing their rounds and everybody was sitting there looking at the ceiling crying, I'm doing my squats and my push-ups and my tricep work and my cardio in these little prison-issued shoes that probably gave me plantar fascia, right? But again, it adds to the question of this can get you through anything if you just again, you don't have to be stuck. Hey, even in there, I am creating what my future look like in there. I'm creating okay, I'm gonna be knocking on doors and people are gonna turn, not wanting to hear from me, not want me on their show, not want to hear my story. You go to the next one. you start creating this. What do you want to say, Marion? And that's when you do it. That's what I did it. So you don't have to stay stuck. Man, whew. Yeah, it was tough, but bad mama jamma.
Bad. And ladies and gentlemen, that is Marion Jones for your ass. As we end things here at Funky Friday, I'm gonna give you an example. And we're gonna do it in unison. We're gonna start with that camera, then we're gonna go to your camera,
right.
then we're gonna finish with that camera right there. When I say all together, we're gonna say one love. When I say all together, we're gonna say one love. When I say all together, we're gonna say what?
One love.
All right, so the example is I'm gonna say one finger, boom, put the finger out there in unison. Two, gonna come to this one, gonna say one pinky. You're gonna put your pinky out there. Then when I say one thumb, boom, put your thumb right there. When I say all together, we're gonna say what?
One love.
Here we go, you ready?
Yep.
Here we go, one finger, one pinky, one thumb, all together, one love. Yes, ma'am. Appreciation. Oh my God. There we go. Thank you, darling.